Hi, Dakota. How are you?
I'm good. How are you today?
Good, good. Are you excited to be filming episode 8 of our
8.
podcast?
That's crazy. It's
Is it a
crazy.
little bit surreal to you?
It is. And we just hit a pretty big milestone on our episode. We hit 150 downloads,
Heck
which
yeah, we
is
did.
pretty crazy.
That's awesome. So, thank you to all of our listeners. And
Thank
I
you
want to give
guys.
a special shout out to our listener that is located where?
California. Yes.
California.
Every single week, this person in California is right on top of it, always downloading our podcast right away. So yeah, shout
Yeah.
out to you.
So, shout out from Ontario. We appreciate your love and support every week. And this week, what we want to talk about is the pros and cons of being your own boss or running your own business, whichever one you want to call it. Because I think it's something that can look like really awesome from the outside, but there are cons to almost every single point that there's a pro. Does that make sense?
100%. Yeah, we hype it up and we talk about how great it is, but I think it's also important to talk about the difficulties and talk
Yes.
about how it's a great thing, but I don't think it's for everyone, if that makes sense.
Yes. One, yeah, I would totally agree with that. Do you have any points that are hot that you want to talk about starting off? Or like what actually brought you to wanting to be self-employed?
Do you mind if we just do a little housekeeping
Oh
first?
my gosh, I would love to do the housekeeping.
Thank you. Okay, there's just a couple of things I want to talk about before we get into the meat of our episode, as I
Oh
will say
no.
again. I just wanted to mention the giveaway that we currently have running
Yes.
right now. That's available on our Instagram. So at the New Network 2020, go check that out. It'll be linked somewhere. Owen will put it up for sure. He's on top of all of that. And we're just giving away 2 sweaters that are handmade by a locally owned company that's
Yes.
owned by 2 young entrepreneurs. And then we're also giving away a New Network face mask because those are super important right now,
Yes.
so you can rep us if you like us. And then we have a couple of events coming up that we kind of just started talking about and just started planning.
Mhm.
So I just wanted to hype those up a little bit. We do have a family day event coming up, which we will release some more information soon.
Yes.
I
Like
love the
a
way you're
virtual
staring at me right
contest.
now. It
I
really,
know.
it really gets me. I love it. And then I think starting next week or the week after, we have a couple of guests lined
Yes.
up. So it's if you're getting
Excellent.
tired of just hearing me and Val talk, there's going to be some other opinions out there.
Yes, so no, not next week, but the week after we have our first guest, Rochelle.
Ooh, that's exciting.
That is exciting. So stay
Okay,
tuned. But
yeah,
yes,
stay tuned
there
for
will
that.
be more than just us, we promise.
Not that we're not great.
No, we're great, but there's other great people that we want to share with you and perspectives and just more connections. So today, pros and cons of being your own boss.
Absolutely. Do you want me to start or did you want to start?
Why did you want to be your own boss? Like why?
Okay. I think it mostly came from I really like to be in control and I really like the freedom of controlling my own life,
Ooh,
if that makes sense.
yeah.
So I know like I've worked at quite a few jobs. I've done the restaurant industry, I've worked as a lifeguard, I've done retail.
Mhm.
And the main theme throughout all of those, not that I didn't love them, it was, I was working under people and I didn't really have that much creative freedom to run
Yes.
things how I wanted to. So I just kind of sat myself down and I was like, okay, so this isn't obviously going to work out.
Mhm.
So what can I do that's going to make me feel fulfilled and also obviously build a career and make some money, of course, along the way.
Right.
So I think that's why I went into it. Why did you go into it?
I so similar in a way because when I was at the bank and even other jobs, if you're not like I'll say the boss or the manager, it's hard to be not in a leadership position and not have the ability to make decisions that you could see that may provide more efficiency, more creativity, better service to the client or the customer. So when you're not able to make those decisions, it's really restrictive and you almost feel like yeah, like your doors start shutting to your creative things because it's always going to be a no. So I looked for an opportunity where things were going to be a yes, which is scary. But that's why I took it was because I wanted to hear yeses and spend my time and my energy creating something that meant something.
Right. And I just want to touch on what you said about sorry, my throat is really Dry. You said something about manager or like a leadership role. A lot of the jobs that I had as a teenager or as a young adult were managing position, supervisor, key holder, or whatever. And that still didn't give me what I wanted,
Right.
because as
It,
much as you're in control of the day-to-day things, you always still have head office or the franchise owner
you're
or
still
whatever it is.
sandwiched.
Exactly, you're still
Yes.
sandwiched. But the career that I have now and the career that you have now, we really don't have anyone who's breathing down our necks or telling
Right.
us how to run our business.
It's very much so up to you to be successful. And I just saw a post today from a good friend of mine, and it's Henry Ford, but it's whether you can or whether you think you can or whether you think you can't, you're right.
Wow, I like that.
Have you heard that one before?
I have never heard that one before.
Yeah. So and that's, I think, a big piece of mindset that comes with being your own boss or running your own business, right? It's belief in yourself, which comes with time.
Exactly. And I think that all the things that we're saying right now, like they sound amazing, like, oh, no boss, make your own schedule and
Right.
stuff. But you have to sit down and kind of look at those things and say, okay, I don't have a boss. So all of the decisions are on me,
Yeah.
which is a con.
Yeah.
So I think that's what we want to talk about today is just kind of go over all of those amazing things, but
Mhm.
also make it a little bit more realistic and saying that there are amazing aspects,
Yeah.
but there are definitely those negatives and there's definitely some challenges.
So I was thinking of starting with the hard one, which is finance, like finances or like the financial side, because I think like when I left the bank, it was like the bank is salaried, so it's secure. So you're getting a paycheck every week or biweekly. Where going out on your own, you're commissioned. So it is like out in the world, you have to like obviously do business to make an income. So that was, but the other side that they say with that too is that it's limitless. So yeah, you could make $100,000 or you could make $100 that year, but there's no cap to it. Where with salary positions, you're typically capped with how much you'll get in a raise or a bonus. So when I was going out on my own, I did like no planning on that side. Funny enough, I was just like, I'm going to do it. This is going to happen. If I were to go back, I probably would have done a little bit more planning because it would have helped with some months that weren't as successful or lucrative, because success is not about money, but that were like lower months. It would have been a little bit less stressful. But like for you, what's that side like in your world?
So I agree with you. I didn't do as much planning as I should have, and
Mhm.
I maybe didn't think about finances as much. I was like, you know what? Like I can earn as much as I want, but I
Yes,
didn't
yeah,
think about that side where I can earn as little
as
as I want
little
as
as
well.
yeah,
So that was a bit of a wake up call. I did have a little bit of experience working, and I know you did as well, working in the restaurant bar industry. A lot of our wages were tips. We
yes,
did get paid hourly, but barely anything, and most of our money came from wages or from tips.
mhm,
So that kind of gave me that drive to, the more I work, the more money I'm going to make,
yes,
and the more
and
effort.
also like the better you are at what you do. Like if you're a personal server or if you're right making conversation, making jokes, making connections, and people are they're enjoying your host abilities.
Right, and I think that definitely helped me 10 times in the industry that we're in now. Um, but yeah, so finances, I was like a little, what's the word? Unorganized when I
Yeah,
started.
I think
And I
I was
still think,
naive.
yeah, naive, that's a good word. And I
Yeah,
still sometimes feel that way as well. Cause I know sometimes I'm like, okay, I know I have to work to make money,
yeah,
but it's fighting that inner battle of like, I have to get up and work, especially right now during COVID when, I'm not going to the office. I don't have scheduled
mhm,
meetings in person. So I'm staying home and it's so easy to just, oh, let me watch this Netflix show really quick or
yeah.
whatever. And then I'm not making any money.
Right. And that's where like I look back and like my suggestion to someone thinking about starting or going out on their own would be just to put a bit more planning or budgeting in place to look at, okay, what do I need for, let's say, 3 months of income, and work to put that aside before you start cold turkey or whatever you want to call it, going out commissions.
Right. And then I think also another thing is something I wish I would have done is maybe stayed at a part-time job for a little bit longer. Because when I
Mhm.
started, it was in the middle of COVID, so it's a little bit different. But I quit my
Yes.
job because I needed the time to focus on real estate,
Mhm.
and put my all into it. But I do kind of wish that maybe I had kept that one shift a week just to keep myself, stable, because the first couple of months in real estate, it's almost impossible to make money, because
It's so
even if you
much.
it's even if you do get a couple houses sold or a couple clients,
Yeah.
that money is still paying your rent or paying your school
Oh yeah.
costs or whatever your life to life costs are, or your day to day life to life
Life to life. Oh, who are you?
your day-to-day costs. So it is super hard, and I know there's like stats and stuff out there which I try not to look at because I hate
Yeah.
comparing myself to
I
other
do. I
people.
do get that. I don't look at the stats. I don't want to know what our turnover rate is in the industry because I don't
Yes.
want to be that statistic. So I don't look at
Right.
that.
And like the stats on when agents start making money, like it's usually after a little while, like at least a year in the industry,
Yeah.
especially since, I just spent thousands of dollars on my university degree and then my college degree. So,
Mhm.
I've got money to pay off. So,
Yes. Yeah. And that's where I think too, in talking to that person that I was, it's okay to keep a weekend part-time job. It's okay. It doesn't mean you're not serious about the goal of being a success in what you're going after. It just means that you're being like you're creating a bit more stability as you go out on that tightrope. Like you've got, I don't know, a harness. I don't know, I'm trying to make it an analogy, but do you know what I mean? Like you don't
top of the line safety features. That's what I think of when I think of bunk beds.
a bunk bed.
Yeah.
That's Step Brothers thing.
Kind of, yes.
Okay. Okay.
Yes.
But yeah, like with the finances, I think, yeah, plan and don't be hard on yourself if it doesn't come right away either. Give yourself some grace. Like it takes time. It takes your name building, your reputation, and your comfort in the industry too, because people are going to have questions and you might not always know them. You just jam so much knowledge in your head. Like give it time.
Right. And let's not call it what it is as what it isn't as well, because it is a big risk stepping
Mhm.
into this industry, because I don't know the stats off of my head, because like yourself, I don't like to focus on numbers when it comes to fail or dropout rates or
Yeah,
whatever.
when it comes to like negativity, I'm like, no, I
Right.
don't want to know.
But I know it is a crazy high amount of people do not make it in the self-serving industry or the self-working industry, and it's hard. So it is a risk. So
Mhm.
it is definitely important to, sit yourself down and be like, can I do this? Am I
Yeah.
committed to this? Because if you're not fully committed, I don't think it's very probable to thrive.
Yeah, I mean, but even if I think too, with that being said, like if it still feels right and you're still feeling scared, like trust your gut. It's gonna be scary even if it's right for you.
Right. And when I say fully committed, I mean like a pure fully committed,
Mhm.
not like you're only doing real estate or you're only doing finances or whatever. Like you can
Right.
still live your life, have another job.
Yep.
You can start even part time. I know a lot of people do start part time. But then also on the flip side, that's kind of the negative of finances. But on the flip side, like you said, we really don't have a limit on
Right.
how much we can make.
Mhm. Which
So
which
if
is cool because like I can well even like you said with serving, you knew what you got paid every hour and you probably had an idea of how much you take home in tips. But like if you once your name is out there and you're selling homes, or for me, like if it's mortgages or life insurance, it's it takes time and it's word of mouth. Like I'm in my third year and I'm getting referrals from people from first year, or they're coming back because they're like, okay, we want to start talking about retirement. Like it just takes
right,
time.
and it's not a race, which I even catch myself sometimes being like, oh, I haven't done this yet. Like I'm not a millionaire yet, but I've been in real estate for 4 months, 5 months during the middle of a pandemic.
Yeah, yeah, seriously. Like the toughest time that you probably could have joined, aside from like 2008, is you've done it. So I'm really
Yes,
proud of you.
I'm really proud of you too.
Oh,
Wholesome corner. I love it.
Kelly's corner.
Kelly's corner. But yeah, we can make as much as we want, but it also depends on how much we're willing to put into it and how
Yeah,
much
yeah.
it really is discipline, and it's keeping yourself motivated, which I also find to be a big con in this
Hmm.
industry. Because you have that freedom to work when you want. You can make your own schedule. You can
Yes,
put in
time
the effort.
management.
Time management is crazy.
Yeah,
I feel like I'm pretty good when it comes to time management,
yeah.
but like I still struggle.
Oh yeah, yeah. Like there's still times when it's like, do I get up and do I start my day, or should I just give myself some more rest and start it later? Or should I do emails tonight, or should I go watch that Netflix show?
Yes, exactly. And it's definitely prioritizing as well.
Yes. And like I know, like, so I have a director, which is kind of like a coach, if you would, and they're with the company. And he even like he could ask me what I do with my weeks. He doesn't, but he could. And I like I could just lie. But B, like he's not my boss, so to speak. So if he says go do this or spend this many hours doing this, it's like you there's so much flexibility that for some people, I think it's almost like it's like you know how your parents let you drink a little bit at home growing up in high school. So when you got to college, you didn't just go wild with alcohol. That is what this is like, I feel, right?
Right. That is a great analogy. That is exactly it.
So that's and that's how I feel too. Like say there was some bosses or jobs that you had before this where there was leeway and you had some freedom. Like with the beer store, I would go and unlock the door. So whether I went in at 11:15 or 11:45, it was on me to open the doors for 12. So then time management, right? Responsibility. So there was a little bit of that before I went fully on my own, which has been good in terms of like, okay, I have a meeting at 2. What time do I need to leave the house? How much do I need to prep before this meeting? What do they need? What do I need to print off? Like it's good, but it's open season.
It really is open season. And I don't know if you feel this, but it's something that like I've noticed starting on my own. Like I feel like not to toot my own horn, but I'm absolutely going to toot my own horn here.
Yes.
I feel like I'm a really, really great worker. Like all of my jobs I was super, super successful in, and I climbed the ladder pretty quickly.
Mhm.
And I was super motivated and like dedicated to the business for the most part. Um, but I find it's a lot harder to keep myself motivated and to keep myself working as
Mhm.
hard as I was when I know that no one else is relying on me
Right.
except for
And
myself.
and there's also like, I mean, there's some people that'll give you kudos, but it's not like your boss is there to be like, was it kudos? Was it the word kudos? Is that why you're laughing?
No, it's my dog.
Oh, okay.
He wants to join, but
Aw, Nicolaj.
yeah.
But that's what I found too, is like there's no one there that's like, hey, that close last night was really great, or you know, those emails or that social media post. Like it's an accountability to yourself. Like I've never been so real with myself and so working hard to be like in tune with myself and take care of myself. So I'm like, it's you and me, girl.
Yeah, exactly. That's it. And I think that is a positive. That's how we spin that around a positive, is
Yeah.
that to be by yourself, you need to have that motivation and that self motivation. You need to do it for you, and you need to want to do it for you.
Mhm.
And to do
Yes.
that, you really need to be in touch with yourself, and you need to know what motivates you and what gets you going. Because if you don't, you're just going to sit there. What is so funny?
You said in touch with yourself and what gets you going. So I'm just I mean, absolutely inappropriate. But you're
Oh my God. Not touch yourself. You have to be in
oh,
touch with
I
who
know.
you are.
You're so right though. Like I think that's where for the first year and a half, it was such a shift for me that I needed to figure out who I was before I could just be this person. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like it's so much like you're bringing so much that's inside out because when I was at the bank, I could just be a cookie cutter and it didn't matter. Like it did not matter. I got paid the same. So I could just, hi, how are you? That's great. But then you're out on your own. It's like, okay, what sets me aside? Like who do I want to be every day? How do I want to show up for my clients and for myself? And it's been such an incredible journey. And it really like when you start looking at yourself and working with yourself
And
and,
touching yourself.
and touching yourself and connecting with others that are doing the same, and it's so freaking cool. um I don't know where I was going on my rant, but
I loved it.
it's it's a really cool side of being your own boss and your entrepreneur. And an entrepreneur is that you have, maybe it's the time, maybe it's just the creative canvas to be able to do it.
And it also has given me a newfound respect and like a
Mhm.
newfound understanding of people who are already in industry, and not
Yeah.
even just like entrepreneurs, but not like business owners. Like all of my managers that I've had in the past, I kind of see in a little bit of a different way,
Yeah,
because
that's very
I've had some people who have been a little bit tough on me or hard on me, but I see it differently now because I want to know how I would react if there was other people representing me in my business.
oh yeah, it gives you huge perspective.
It does. It's been a blessing. And I almost wish I could like reach out to the people and be like, hey, I understand now.
But you
What
can.
I can. And maybe I will one day.
Or just give them a shout out on your podcast.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. We'll see. We'll see. In a couple weeks, we're talking about previous jobs and stuff like that. So we'll see what happens on that episode.
Yeah.
Maybe
Yes.
I'll have a emotional moment.
Oh, I would also say a hard part is the business side, like running a business, your bookkeeping, your file keeping, you're having the right technology, like investing in the laptop and those things was not even like thought of for me, honestly. When I left the bank, I was like, okay, cool. Like, but I didn't think about like, oh, I need to keep my receipts for things now. Like I need to, there was so much that just like blew the roof off and I'm like, oh.
Right. And that's something like obviously we went to school and we got degrees for what we're in right now. But the everyday business day-to-day stuff is not something that I was taught. I
No.
don't know if yeah. So like example, keeping your receipts for
Mhm.
meetings or lunches or whatever, and just kind of keeping track of your finances and
Yeah.
getting the right equipment and like what
Tracking your kilometers.
yeah, and doing like what do I do today every
Right.
day? Like what are the little things that I need to do to make my business
Yes.
successful? That
Micro.
yeah, that is really something that you learn as you start,
Yeah. Yep.
which I
Like once you're in it, then yes, I would agree.
which is I think is another reason where you got to give yourself a little slack at the beginning and you got to trust yourself because as much as you're now the professional in your industry, you have so much to learn.
Yes. And give yourself some grace because it can be really overwhelming.
It definitely can. Overwhelming is like a big thing. I feel like I'm constantly overwhelmed unless I talk myself out of it and like sit myself down and schedule everything out.
Yes. Or like brain dumps. Like,
Yes.
you just get a piece of paper and you just write everything down and then you look at it and then you organize it. Yes. Cause sometimes like there's so many thoughts going on in my head, or I'll be like doing a workout, or I'll be walking the dogs and there's this like nagging thought. I'm like, oh my gosh, just, take the 10 minutes, take whatever you need, handle it.
Right. Yes. I love that. Maybe we'll do an episode on like just the everyday business stuff and what you need to know
Yeah.
if you're starting.
I think that would be really good. Or we
Yeah.
will be here forever.
Let's note that, Owen, if you can. Here we are on the podcast coming up with podcast ideas.
I love it.
Another thing that I want to talk about is kind of the feeling of success and the feeling of failure in your business, as especially in our businesses. Well, we're mostly doing this alone.
Yeah.
So both those feelings are completely on us. So when we get that success, it's like
And what we do with it.
right. But that feeling of success, I feel like is amplified almost because if I'm successful, I know who did it, and it was me.
Right. And I think that comes from like think about if someone gives you $5 versus if you work for the $5, right? Like it's a different appreciation behind the energy that went into the whatever it may be, a house sold, a client insured, client referral. Like it was you as the person sitting down with them that created this transaction of I want to say energy and money, but it's so cool. But the other side too is like the not successes where you're
Right.
like it's very it can really take you down.
Yes, absolutely. Losing clients, losing a sale,
Yes.
who it's not necessarily always your fault or it's not like you did something wrong per se,
No,
but it was
but
it was your actions that caused it. And it's not like you can say, oh, well, like it's the business or it's the company. You are the company, you are the business. So
right.
those failures also feel 100% amplified, I find.
Yes.
Um,
And I think sometimes fear of those failures keeps me from being as big as I can be.
100%. I'm always like, do I put myself out there? They're going to say no, I'm not going to get it. And then I just
Right.
wasted my time. But that's the whole point of our business is putting
Yeah.
ourselves out there.
Is getting over those mental hurdles, those personal hurdles, and doing it anyways. Because we know that we can help people.
Right. How
Sometimes
do you kind of combat that feeling of failure and like keep yourself
so
grounded and not walk away and say, you know what, I'm going back to serving and
oh my gosh,
working at the movie theater or whatever?
I could part of it, like I've lost a client before because I hadn't called him, and another advisor came across him, so he transferred him, which is totally fine. And at first I was like, I had this like scarcity, like anxiety that was like, oh my gosh, like you can't lose a client. And it just like took over my chest. And I was like really overwhelmed by it. And then I took a step back and I was like, but this was caused by your inaction, by not reaching out to them. Like it was, and I was like, this is the universe. Like for me, I have to make it a lesson, right? So I'm like, this is your sign to reach out to your people, like reach out to your clients, stay top of mind. And it was that reminder that was like, hey, you haven't been doing this as much as you should be. So I took it from like a very like, poor me, oh my gosh, this sucks, to okay, what is it, like what is it telling me, what is it teaching me?
Yes, 100%. That's exactly what I try to do. It's not always as easy to
Yes,
make
no,
everything
no,
a
and that
lesson.
didn't happen. And like I got the email and then I was like, oh my gosh, what is the lesson? It was like
No,
probably a few
couple
days of me
tears,
feeling,
yeah,
yeah, yeah,
yeah,
like feeling crappy. and
yeah,
then and then kind of pulling it together and being like, okay, like it's okay, this happens, but what did you learn from
right. And that goes back to self-motivation, kind of learning yourself and figuring out, how do I get over this? How does
it?
my mind work to clear myself from this? And I think also adding on top of that is running your own business and kind of being your own business in the places that we are. It's lonely. I don't know if you
Oh
find
yeah,
it, but
yeah.
it's a lot different from, going into the bar on a Friday night. You have, 10 other servers, you've got a whole family, there's managers,
Yeah, you have
there's,
people to connect with.
yeah, it's all a big like event. Like it's fun, you're running around, but you have people like making jokes at you and like,
Yes.
talking and having fun. But I find for probably 85% of my job, especially right now, is me sitting at my desk on my computer by
Yeah.
myself.
Oh yeah, like A dogs are super important for that. Like my dogs, I love them so much. They're so important. They're my emotional support dogs. And you're right. And I've connected to like yourself, and that's what we want to do, is we want to connect with other entrepreneurs that are feeling this way, and form those bonds in that community where it's not just you. And I think it's really important to plug into sources of other people, other communities where they get you. They're with you. They're not physically with you, but they're with you.
Right. And I think it's also different because when I say lonely, like I obviously am surrounded by my family and like
Mhm.
everyone, like I'm not lonely in that sense. Hi, puppies. Um, but it's a little bit different having people that are in your field and they kind of know what's going on.
Yes.
Because if I'm talking about losing a client to, my mom, my sister, or whatever, they're not really understanding it the same way that if I'm talking to you about it.
Right, right. And yeah, the ability to express yourself without total like having to explain the whole backstory. They're like, oh, I feel you. And it's also great if you're connected to people that understand your struggles. Okay, thank you. Because they can share their advice, like what they've
Right.
done, how they've spun it.
Right. And I think that's especially hard right now with COVID because, it's
Mhm.
really easy to get that sense of community and that sense of group when you're going to the office or, you're seeing other realtors or other
Yes.
whatever it may be. But when I'm staying at home right now, like all my stories are going to Ryan and he's like, yay, that's great. But
Yeah. It's like, okay, cool.
yeah,
And I think on the other side of that too is you have to be careful whose advice you listen to, right? Like even with senior advisors, there's advisors that have been in the business, yada yada. They're doing great, they're doing well, but they all will look at one problem totally different, or they'll give you a different answer. And some of it is ethics based, some of it's based off of they want to get paid more, some of it's based off of their personal values. Like it's all you have to take it. Like don't not have the conversations with people that will like have some wisdom, but don't just take one person's like word and be like, okay, well, this is what I have to do. Like inside what you should do, but don't be afraid to like
get advice and just get
yes,
other people's perspective almost.
yes,
And I think
absolutely.
I like what you said with that too, because I know like we do business a lot differently than a lot of our role
Mhm.
models or the people that, are kind of trying to teach us in the
Right.
business. Because I know like a lot of realtors that I know that have been in there for a while, like they do things a little bit differently. Like people like door knocking, for example, is
Mhm.
something that I kind of think is slowly fading out.
Yes. And I
Or
think it's A, it's less welcome with COVID, but B, it's also less welcome because like the world has just become that much more unpredictable. So people don't want to answer their door for
right. It's just, yeah, exactly. What I did as a way to kind of differentiate that, I still did door knocking this week, but instead of, knocking on people's doors and making them talk to me,
yeah.
I just left a little flyer in everyone's mailboxes in my neighborhood, just, introducing myself, giving them a little bit of information about me and my business and whatever. And then I posted on social media and promoted that post so that they're not only getting that flyer, but they're also seeing that on social media. And that's having a very similar effect.
Yeah,
In my
absolutely.
in my mind, a better effect than me knocking on their door and saying, "Hey, do you
I
want to
would
talk
agree.
about real estate? Do you want to
Yeah,
talk about me?"
I would absolutely agree. It keeps you top of mind without being intrusive.
Right. And then I'm gonna just do that, once a month, once every 2 months or so, just, deliver those flyers. Just I'm still gonna be in their mind, but I don't like the word bothering, but I'm
No,
not
but
being
disturbing.
intrusive, disturbing or being intrusive,
Yes. Yeah,
you
I would
know?
absolutely agree with that. Yes,
But
like I did some door knocking with my first director and it was cringe worthy. It was like my intuition was so um just like turned off by it and I was uncomfortable and the person at the door was uncomfortable and my first director, he was very good at what he did, but he was a salesperson. Like you like if he came to my door, I'd be like, no. So it was an experience. But
right, and
that's part of figuring out what works for you.
exactly. And I don't think that I've ever had anyone come to my door and convince me of something.
Right.
I really
Exactly.
don't.
It's more building off of referrals, word of mouth, and consistency. So that could be through social media. It's putting yourself out there, right?
Right. I
Hmm.
think we've gotten a little off track of the pros and cons, but I loved
Yeah,
that conversation. That was
I know.
great.
And we maybe I see the time remaining at the top here, so we maybe should.
How much time do we have left? Oh, 7 minutes already. Wow. Wow. This is going by quick. Okay. Let's talk about a few more pros and cons and then we'll wrap it up, eh?
Okay. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you have any more that we haven't touched on? I've got a few more.
Like let's hear yours.
So a couple pros that we haven't talked about is just, we've talked about being lonely, but in this business, maybe not as much right now, but you get to meet so many people. I
Yes, the
I
connections.
Yes, and I feel like every single day, even if it's just through email, text, or phone call, I'm talking to someone new almost every single day that I didn't talk
Yeah,
to ever before, which
it's
is absolutely
amazing.
amazing. I love it. I consider myself a introverted extrovert. Give me a
Yes.
second. Yes,
Yes.
an
And
introverted extrovert.
yes.
But I love these little phone calls and they keep my extroverted side going
Yeah.
without having to overwhelm my introverted self.
Yes. 100%. Love
Mic
it.
drop.
Boom. Who are you? You were just like a radio host there. I don't even know. What am I
Thank
talking
you.
about?
Yes. What else? What was I? Oh, it gives you time to live your life how you want, which I know we've talked a lot about before because you and
Yeah.
I are very, very big on, community involvement, helping people and giving back. So it's a lot easier in this field to do that than it would be working
Yeah.
a 9 to 5. And I do want to touch on the 9 to 5 thing. I know we've kind of talked about it in a negative light,
There's
but I
just
just want to make sure everyone knows that we are not bad talking working a 9 to 5 or working at a factory or whatever. Like everyone has their
no.
own path in life. This
Yeah.
is the path we've chosen, and we just want to promote that path to anyone who may be thinking about it or maybe going
Yeah.
into it.
I think just educate on what that path looks like.
Right. But if it's not like we're better or
No,
we're going, yeah. That's,
no.
I just want to touch on that and make sure everyone knows, like, if you're
But
working
we're
that 9 to 5,
we also both have spouses that work shifts. And
yeah,
you know what I mean? Like it's not we're not like, oh my gosh, you do that. It's like, cool, this is what we do. That's what you do. Like we both paths, every path has a different struggles, different pros, different cons.
exactly. This is just the path that we're most educated in, so that's why we talk about it.
Boom.
Some
Wow.
cons. Let's talk about some bad things.
Um, like boundaries. So those aren't a bad thing, but they're tough to put in place if you when you're starting out because you're almost like, I'll take anything. I'll take your call. I'll email you. I'll meet like on a Sunday morning. Like you just
I'll drive 4 hours to do a house showing.
Yes. Yes. You say yes to everything. And I think as we gain confidence and understanding and respect for ourselves too throughout the process, we set harder boundaries. Like I had a client, they wanted to meet on a Sunday today, and I did not want to because Sundays I try to keep for family time.
Right.
And I said no. I said no, I can meet an evening this week though. Like we still made it work, but it was like no, like we like having those boundaries in place.
Yeah, and it's so hard to say no or put those boundaries in. So I
Yes.
definitely think that's a con. And then working off that as well, in the beginning couple of months or even years, you're really relying on your friends and family to support you. And I do find that kind of drains on me a little bit because I'm constantly asking like, hey, can you share my post? Hey, can you
Mhm.
refer me? Hey, can you watch or listen to my podcast? Blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
So I do find, I don't know if that's a con or a pro. It's just something to mention.
It's just different. It's a different approach to your relationships once you're self-employed.
Right. But luckily, I think we've both been pretty blessed and have an
What?
amazing community and an amazing family and amazing
Yes,
friends. And
I would
it,
agree.
so we're good on that. And then the last con I want to talk to is there's a big feeling of loss. No, lost with a T.
Lost. Okay.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
I was
oh,
like, who did we lose? I feel lost, I would say about 75% of the time. Like I know
yeah,
what I have to do and I
yeah.
know what I need to get done to reach my goals, but I'm still like, okay, where do I start? What do I do?
Mhm.
Type thing.
Oh yeah. Yeah, there's like it's a huge like navigating in the dark almost. Like you're fumbling and you're trying to figure it out and it's not like there's no perfect path. There's coaches you can hire. There's you can talk to people, but sometimes it is yeah, like you're just lost. So it's and to get out of that though, I think it's asking questions, it's doing your research, and it's being honest with if it's with the client, like, hey, I don't know that answer, but let me get it to you.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
I love that. Okay. I think that's everything that we kind of have time to chat on
I think
and
so. I think we
everything that I
better
have.
wrap up episode 8. And next week we are going to be talking about. I had it here just to give you
Growing
one.
up in a small town.
There it is. Look
I was
at
going to let you have it, but I went and
you
snagged it
did do
right
it.
from you.
All right. Oh, my dogs are coming down. So, peace and blessings. Take care of yourself.
Yeah. I hope you guys have a great week. Next
Yes.
week, I will not have this bad COVID haircut because my mom's going to cut my hair.
Really
So
bad.
that'll be good.
Fur
All right.
cut. All right.
Download, follow, show us
Show us
some
some love. Tell us
support,
your
give us some
stories.
noise.
We are here.
Exactly. And yeah, we'll see you next week.
All right. Take care. Oh,
Bye, guys.